What's up, everybody? It's Kavon with Functional Fitness VA, and today we're going to work on the speed switch with the kettlebell snatch. So you see here I'm doing a kettlebell snatch, and as it's going to make the transition to overhead, it also magically transitions from one hand to the other. A little slow motion amazingness there for you. But it's kind of hard to see if you're going full speed sometimes what exactly happens. Things you need to take a note of here are I don't throw and catch it, I hand it off, right? It's at the transition point where you're going to start to get your hand to loosen up to dive under anyway. So it's almost, and I'm going to say almost, easier for the other hand to come in and dive under there because it's not holding onto the bell. That being said, it takes a good amount of work with having a good kettlebell snatch. And before that, obviously having a good single arm swing, two-handed swing. You got to have the building blocks first. Then there's a few drills that can make this a lot easier to kind of jump into and reduce some of the fear on this because it can be a little scary. But let's get into it. So first, you want a good kettlebell swing, right? Hinge, plank, all that. Don't let it twist you. And then you want to work on a hand-to-hand swing, alternating from one hand to the other. Again, hinge, plank, the core of the movement with your body. And this, again, it's a handoff. It's not a throw and a catch. So if your hand-to-hand swing is you throwing it and catching it like it's going to run away on you, don't do that, right? You want to have the other hand tracking along as normal, and then you just hand it off to the hand that's not working. It becomes the hand that's working. So from the front here, right? Little hand-to-hand swing, hand it off back and forth. Now we're going to start to make this, right, a little bit of a floatier version. So you can see I'm taking my hand away just to over-illustrate it, right? Nothing too fancy with that, but you got to get comfortable with that, right? And then you explode from the hips. You're doing your single arm swing. We're going to start to pull it back. They call this the high float, right, as opposed to a high pull. And so that's where it's going to start to transition to the snatch. But here I'm going to take my other hand, the non-working hand, I'm going to start putting it up there, right, because eventually that's where the transition happens. And that has a window, right, from chest to eye height, somewhere in there. So here's my high float, and I'm taking my other hand, and I'm bringing it, and I'm kind of smacking the back of my working hand. That way, it's there, it's making contact, and when I'm ready, the handoff is simple. Yeah, simple but not easy, as everyone loves to make fun of me for saying too much. But high float, right? Snap the hips, it's swinging, I float it up, I bring the other hand to touch. When I'm comfortable, when I feel like I'm ready, that high float with a touch, boom, is a handoff that carries over to the other side with a snatch. Again, you got to have a smooth snatch first, got to have a good single arm swing, got a good hand-to-hand swing. So once you've gotten that down where you can do it consistently, you can start working the drill. You can go swing, high float, where your other hand touches, and then into the speed switch. So swing, high float, speed switch. Swing, high float, I'm touching the back of my hand every time when I do that high float, speed switch. Because you got to get that pattern down, that skill. The skill of the transition only happens on top of a good pattern of tracking the kettlebell and getting the other hand to come in there. So now I'm just doing high float into speed switch. So I got rid of the swing, so it's one less comfortable thing. As I get more comfortable doing the speed switch, still do the high float, tap the back of the hand, and then boom, speed switch. So this is a good kind of transition drill. It gives you that one high float to get your bearings, to feel that it's up there, and then you get to do the speed switch. Now, something that can happen every once in a while, not great, but oh shit, both hands got caught in there. Not the best thing. Don't panic. You can end up with both hands overhead and holding the bell. Tom once did that during a snatch test at a TSC. Anyway, that was a no rep. But for your sake, just don't panic. Keep both hands in. You can always reset at the bottom. That way you don't drop it on your head. So once you're comfortable doing the high float with the touch and then the speed switch, alternating on that, then you can start working in the speed switch going from side to side. This is a workout, but it's a drill, right? It's a drill to help you get more and more comfortable with the speed switch. And any point in time you don't feel like you have it as it's traveling up, just keep a hold of it with the working hand from the bottom and just do a swing or just do a snatch. So what's the speed switch good for? One, fun workout circus trick, but two, you're doing snatch tests after you've done all your reps on one side without wasting another swing in a couple seconds. You could speed switch over and then keep going back to your snatches. So it's a really good way to increase your efficiency of time use during a snatch test. That being said, if you don't drill it, you can't pull it out of the bag last minute when you think you need it. And if you're not working with a good base of conditioning where you can kind of go nonstop, then it's not worth the saving the 2 seconds of time with the risk of potentially losing it or getting both hands stuck in there. So a couple things to think about as you see the slow motion of these here at the transition point. 1, have a great swing. 2, have a very smooth and strong snatch. 3, drill it. And 4, have a good base of conditioning if you're going to use it to save time during a snatch test, whether it's at our functional strength challenge or the tactical strength challenge, or to pass a certification, or just to not waste a swing during your workout because I don't want to do more swings than I have to, right? So you want those building blocks in place, and then you need to practice it. Practice that high float where you tap the back of your hand with the non-working hand. Practice transitioning that into the speed switch, and then go have fun with it, because it is kind of fun to pull out when people don't expect it. Anyway, that's the kettlebell speed switch. Give it a try.